Welcome to the Aspire Career Video Library. This video looks at media, journalism and publishing. These roles cover a variety of areas including news, politics, sports, arts and culture. In this industry, you are at the forefront of creating or editing media for public or business consumption. This could be through reporting or writing on current events, or crafting fictional stories and showcasing them through print, television, radio and the internet. Listen on to find out what our volunteers who work in the industry had to say.
Hi, my name's Kate Weston. I'm an author. I started writing when I was a kid, and my first book published in 2020. I studied classical music performance at Trinity College of Music.
Hi, I'm Athena Christodoulou. I work as a digital marketing assistant for an educational publishing company called Hodder Education. I've been with the company for 3.5 years now, and I studied English language and literature at King's College London.
Hi, my name's Becky Ripley. I'm a sub-editor at the Daily Mail and have been for the last 18 months. Before that, I studied international relations at Exeter University and then did a master's in newspaper journalism at City University of London.
Hi, my name is Becky Ripley. I work as an assistant producer for the BBC, mostly for BBC Radio 4, making documentaries and dramas for the radio. I've been at the BBC now for coming up to 8 years, which I still don't really believe myself. And before that I was at the University of Bristol, where I did drama with some philosophy.
Authors generally write books and sometimes articles for newspapers and magazines too. Generally, you'll work with your agent on a pitch and you will pitch your book to a publisher, and then once the publisher's bought it, you will work on it and edit it with the publisher until it's ready to publish.
The digital marketing team within a publishing company is responsible for promoting books in all the main digital areas. So one area could be website, which involves setting up web pages to promote and sell the books, as well as optimizing these pages to make sure that they rank highly in Google. Another area is digital advertising, both on social media platforms such as Facebook, but also Google Ads. Another area of digital marketing is e-marketing, so sending out promotional emails to e-update subscribers. And in educational publishing specifically, digital marketing also involves setting up and testing digital products.
So within journalism, there's a huge variety of roles. So you can be an editor, a reporter, a photographer, you can work on the arts desk. So as a sub-editor, my job is to edit the copy that the reporters send in. So if it's too long, cut it down. Also write the headlines, I write the captions, and fact check everything that's in there to make sure it's all accurate, and then make sure it looks nice on the page when it goes in the paper. So we're sort of the last port of call that the stories come to before they actually get sent to the presses.
I sort of make documentaries and some dramas and readings and podcasts and panel programmes and all sorts of programmes, mostly for BBC Radio 4, and that entails everything from start to finish in terms of the documentary making process, researching what the programme is about, gathering all the information you need, working out what your kind of overarching story is or argument, and then casting it, so getting your experts or getting your people for your panel programme, or getting your actors if it's a drama, getting your interviewees if it's a documentary, and then recording with them, and then finally, once you've recorded everything, you then edit it, which is, I think, my favourite part of the process, because I love the kind of creativity that comes with editing a programme and deciding how it's going to sound, and adding sound effects and music and all of that.
The first thing that interested me was that I just love news. I was really interested in the news and current affairs, and I thought that looked like a really cool thing to be working on, to be able to report on the news, to be able to be in the thick of it when big news stories happened. And that is still what I love about it. It's so exciting to be in a newsroom when a big story breaks or when something big happens, and get to sort of see all the buzz and excitement about it and sort of see that story come together in the paper. For me personally, it was definitely about sort of access to news as well, so about making sure that no matter your background or where you lived, that you had access to sort of the really important stories of the day. And yeah, that's always what's interested me in that, even up until sort of just before I got my job. That was what I wanted to that was why I wanted to go into the industry.
I was first interested in being an author when I was a kid, when I was little. I used to read a lot and I'd make up stories, but I never actually thought that I would be able to write a whole novel.
As someone who's always loved books and obviously went on to study English literature at uni, I think I always knew I wanted to work in the publishing industry in general. But what appealed to me most about digital marketing is the fact that it's constantly changing and evolving, which means you can never get complacent in the role. And also the creativity that goes into digital marketing, as you obviously have to find a way to stand out from competitors and to make your products as appealing to customers as possible. So that kind of artistic and creative side to it really appealed to me. And I think also the data side to digital marketing is something that I was really interested in. So the fact that it's very much driven by user data and tracking customer data and behaviour. So that kind of data-driven analytical side to digital marketing is something that I was really interested in.
I think the thing is about making documentaries is you just learn a lot about the world. You learn a lot about different really niche things sometimes, depending what your program is, and it opens your eyes to issues and subjects that you wouldn't otherwise perhaps have known about. And it also kind of makes you approach people that you wouldn't otherwise talk to, and kind of understand different points of view. So I think that's why I was interested in the idea of making documentaries.
For publishing in general, I would say a genuine love and passion for books is essential. But for digital marketing in particular, someone who is organised and efficient, as this is very much a fast-paced and varied role, which means you are constantly being kept on your toes. I would say creativity is important, and someone who can bring forward new and original ideas, and also a good eye for detail, as this role involves working with data and numbers, as well as testing products and platforms. So an ability to identify issues and errors is very important.
The biggest thing if you're going into news journalism especially is just to be a news junkie, to read the news, to watch the news, to be really interested in the news and to feel excited by it. I imagine it can get quite boring quite quickly if you're not really interested in what you're working on. Other than that, especially again for newspaper journalism, my industry, you need to have good writing skills, sort of good English language skills. If you're going into broadcast journalism, then obviously you need to be good at kind of, condensing stories down. If you look on sort of BBC News, sometimes a whole story is condensed into sort of 1 or 2 minutes. So being able to have an eye for a story and pick out what's really important, a willingness to not do a traditional 9 to 5. I think that's quite an important thing. There's very, very few jobs in journalism where your hours are confined to kind of 9 to 5. There's a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings, especially if there's a big breaking news story that could, ruin your weekend plans. So a willingness to kind of, when appropriate, sort of just drop everything to chase the story.
I wouldn't say that there is one sort of type of person that is best suited to being an author. I think that you need to be quite disciplined, quite self-motivated, because a lot of the time you're working on your own and it can be quite hard putting in loads of time and effort when you don't actually know if it's going to get published. And I would say you probably need quite a lot of determination, because there's a fair bit of rejection, but the good definitely outweighs the bad.
I really think anyone who's just curious and anyone who's always asking questions, I think if you're that kind of person, you've probably got a documentary maker in you. In terms of particular skills, you definitely need some confidence to kind of pick up a phone, especially when you're in the early research stages. I'd say technically you do need some skills when it comes to editing, but you learn all of that on the job. And actually what's more important is that you are just someone who's enthusiastic and hardworking, because like the rest you can teach. In terms of editing, I guess music tech would be quite good, because you'd get a sense of whether you enjoy editing music and like playing with sound design and playing with Atmos beds and all of that kind of stuff. And if you enjoy that kind of thing, then I think radio production could be for you. But otherwise, I think, yeah, just being curious about the world is the most important thing.
So in terms of developing the skills for journalism while you're at sixth form, there's a few things that you can do. The biggest thing is pretty obvious, but it's just to consume the news, just to look at how different newspapers and different websites will cover stories differently. Also, there's some really good resources to kind of give you an idea of the jobs that are out there and the resources that can help you. So Journo Resources is a really good website. The Second Source is a good one for women wanting to go into the media and looking at sort of tackling those barriers that might be in the way there. And also PressPad is a really good one for people who want to go into journalism but might have some financial barriers stopping them. So that can help with sort of finding work experience and finding places to stay in London while you do that work experience. The other one I'd say is to get work experience. So it doesn't matter whether it's on a national paper or a local paper, even if it's just a week or a couple of days. Just get some experience of on-the-ground journalism, and this will help you with sort of applying for jobs in the future as well. And then the final thing I'd say is, especially if you want to go into news journalism, starting a blog is never a bad idea, whether you write opinion pieces, whether you write commentary on news stories, and then there you can have sort of a portfolio of your work as well. I'd say it's never too soon to start sort of building a portfolio to sort of show off your skills.
Firstly, I would recommend following all the main publishing companies on social media, as well as subscribing to the bookseller for all the latest news and trends relating to the industry. And then for digital marketing in particular, I would recommend all the free courses on things like LinkedIn Learning and Google Digital Academy, as they have lots of free content related to the main areas of digital marketing, so things like analytics and ads, and are a good kind of starting point into the main areas of digital marketing.
As a sixth former, the way that you can develop the skills to be a writer is simply by writing. The more you write, the better you get at it. I would also suggest reading as much as possible, particularly in the genre that you want to write in, making friends with your local librarian, going to see some authors do talks. They do talks at bookshops and libraries and that sort of thing, and there's loads of great free events out there online now as well. And I would also follow the authors that you like on social media and their agents and publishers too, just so you can get a feel for how it works.
This role did require an undergraduate degree, however this could be in any subject.
There aren't any specific qualifications that you need to be a writer. I think people often think that you need an English degree to be a writer, and you don't. You just need to love writing and be persistent.
One of the great things about journalism is that there isn't sort of one qualification you need to become a journalist. You can go straight from sixth form into journalism, you can go straight from university into journalism, you can do further qualifications after that. So a lot of people will have a degree, but not necessarily always in journalism or related fields. Sometimes it's things like English or history. I did my undergraduate degree in international relations. I then went on to do a postgraduate degree, which isn't a requirement, but a lot of people do have them nowadays. Obviously there's financial barriers there as well, which can be very frustrating. I was lucky to get funding, so there are funding options out there as well if you want to do postgraduate training for it. There's also a qualification called the NCTJ, which is another type of postgraduate journalism training. But there are also training schemes that will take you on straight from sixth form, both at local papers and at national papers. And it's, again, go to sort of resources like Journo Resources. There's a list of all the training schemes available and what sort of qualifications you need up until that point to get onto them.
So I entered the BBC through something called the Production Talent Pool. And there's also a scheme that I think is still open called the Production Trainee Scheme, and that trains you up via radio, TV and online. and you do placements in all those departments across a year. To get into the production talent pool, you don't need a degree. The BBC is really trying to be way less exclusive with what it asks for, and it really wants people from all backgrounds. The most important thing that they stress is just someone who wants to work collaboratively, has creative ideas, cares about stories that aren't always told and people who aren't always represented. And it's really trying to diversify its staff base and not be elitist with how it kind of gets people in through the door. So you don't, in theory, need a degree, which I think is really important. They just want people who are really eager.
I just wish I knew my role even existed, as I always just associated publishing with editing or the editorial side of things, and did not even know that digital marketing was a thing or what it involves. So if I knew that early on, it would have saved me all the time I spent interning and trying to figure out what side of the industry that I was most interested in.
So something I know now that I wish I'd known when I was in sixth form about journalism is definitely the variety of jobs that there are. So I didn't even know that sub-editing was a job until I was doing my postgraduate degree, and it is the perfect job for me. It's everything that I love. It's editing, it's doing a huge variety of stories, everything from showbiz stories, sort of breaking news, politics. So yeah, I wish I'd just sort of appreciated and been made aware of the huge scope of jobs that there are, the different types of reporting you can go into. And also that it doesn't, being a journalist doesn't just mean, working on a national newspaper. You could be freelance, you can work for, more independent companies. My advice to sort of my younger self, if you like, would definitely be to just look at what's out there. Don't just focus on, the big national newspapers, although ironically that is what I've ended up working on. But, look at what else is out there, and, the different jobs that you can do. It's not just about, writing the stories and being the reporter. There's so many other roles out there that might end up being better suited to the kind of journalism you want to go into.
I think the main thing is when you first enter a place of work and you've not kind of been in an office environment before, and it's all a bit scary. And I remember this when I joined really fresh from uni in my early 20s, and with a lot of jobs you learn on the job, and you those first few months you don't really know what you're doing, and I think I was too shy or too much of a people pleaser to ask anyone, and I just think the most important thing is just to ask all the questions. People love answering questions that they can answer, and when you enter an office environment surrounded by people who've been doing that job for years and years, and maybe even decades, you're surrounded by experts, they'll be happy to impart their wisdom. Most people really want to do that, so just having the confidence to ask questions, even if they feel like really stupid questions.
The things I wish I'd known when I was in sixth form are that success doesn't always look how you think it's going to look. Not everything happens in your 20s, often success can come a bit later, and also that rejection and disappointment in your work usually leads to something better in the end anyway.
Thank you to all the volunteers who took part in this video. If you want to explore different career options, you can view more sector videos from our career video library on our website, aspire.upreach.org.uk. If you're planning to go to university, you can also use this website to register for career support, worth £2,700 during your degree. Check your eligibility and register today.